This is going to be so exciting. I can't even tell you. So, for those of you tuning in, my name is Stacey Lauren, and I'm the host of the Do the Thing podcast. And we're streaming right now inside of the Do the Thing Facebook community. And then we're also on YouTube and LinkedIn. And so we are just doing a live event with Adam Weber, who is the founder of Callcast, which is the podcast platform that both of my podcasts are based on. And he just recently helped me launch a few hundred podcasts through a challenge that we did. And then we have Matthew Mojo Jones, who is the founder of Rainbow Creative. And he is beyond, we just were talking before this live, and I'm shaking with how much information he has to be able to share with you guys. It's so exciting. So I'm going to just do a quick technical thing. If you guys just want to say hi while I'm making sure everyone that wants to see us is seeing us.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. I hear everyone's doing some really amazing stuff, so I'm happy to share.
Yay. And Adam knows the do this.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. Hello, everyone. Some familiar people, I'm sure, in the group. I love Stacey's groups. They're always the most amazing people come together. I think anytime you get a community of people who are doers, who put themselves out there, willing to take risks, it's an amazing group of people to be around. So you guys are out there leading the way, kind of fearlessly pushing forward. And so love being here with you.
Yay. And I noticed a few people are saying hi. We have Pamela Nichols. She's the host of the Healing Words podcast. So excited to see you. And Anne-Marie, she's the host of About This Life. And then Randy's here. So cool. Great to see you guys. Okay, I'm going to find this streaming thing right now, and then I am back. Okay, we are good. So, oh my gosh. Okay, so much to talk about. So, Mojo. We were just talking about the shows that you're producing through Rainbow Creative. Do you mind just kind of sharing for people kind of tuning in and that are learning about you, a little bit about you, and then all the great stuff that you're doing?
Certainly. So my company, Rainbow Creative, is a full-service podcast production company, and I've been very fortunate to get hired actually on other shows. So these other shows that I've done are not associated with Rainbow, but Rainbow Creative, I started in 2020. It was really by happenstance. Somebody asked me to produce a podcast, and I was like, I started as a film producer, and I was like, sure, I'll try. Did my first show, 20 episodes for free. Started posting about it on my LinkedIn network, and literally people asked me to produce their shows. So I said, yes, and then Googled what is the rate for a podcast producer and called my friends who had worked on things. And long story short, I had the time in the pandemic, I worked on 3 or 4 shows within my first year, and then just continued to do it part-time for a few years until I went full-time. So my company has done about 10 or 12 shows. We've gotten about 3 awards, and our shows are Beyond High Performance by Novus Global, From the Future with Love, Alpha Beta Launch FinTech Founders Stories, 50 Now What, which is a new show, just hit launch its 2nd season, which is so exciting. This 50-year-old woman, Alicia Sutton, wanted to come on and just speak to women in their 50s and talk about health and yoga and motivation and all types of things. And it's in the 2nd season. It's really exciting. That one just launched the 2nd season last week. So we've done a bunch, and I have a producing team that does that. I decided when my business started to really steamroll, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. I started applying for jobs, and I was fortunate to get a job with Red Table Talk, which is Jada Pinkett Smith's television show. They produce a couple of podcasts, and I led a show called Navigating Narcissism as a lead producer with Dr. Ramani Dravasula. And she hosts the show. It's in its 2nd season. First season was audio. 2nd season is on YouTube as well. And that's running right now. You can listen to it today. It comes out every Thursday. So we had a new episode that dropped today. And I finished that contract, although the show's still continuing for a few more episodes. And my current gig that I started a few months ago, about 4 months ago, is The School of Greatness with Lewis Howes. So currently I'm the in-studio producer for that show. We release 4 episodes weekly on audio, 2 on video. I manage the YouTube channel, and the team is just amazing. And yeah, I mean, today we literally we have all kinds of people. I mean, Joe Dispenza and Cedric the Entertainer, Bill Nye, and Sadia Khan. It's just crazy, the people walking through that room. And just thinking about it, it's wild that I started with, hey, I'll try something, and now I'm here, and it's a lot of fun. So
it's incredible when you look back and you're like, what is even happening?
Yeah. What's even happening? Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Ramani and Lewis Howes are excellent. They're really amazing, sweet people. And it's so funny how worlds collide. Dr. Ramani was on Lewis Howes' show, and it's one of the most popular episodes of narcissism. I'm like, what is happening? This is so cool.
Yeah. So what is it like? So what are you, and someone had a good question, what is included in producing shows? So what is it like in terms of what you're doing for them?
Yeah, so the producer is really the backbone of the show for the host. You really want the host to focus on the content. You want them to be prepared. You want them to use their skills. Dr. Ramani is the world's leading voice in narcissism. For her show to be successful, she needs to focus on the content. I handle all the details. I handle the scheduling. I handle the mics. I handle doing reading with her, writing creative outlines, working in tandem together so they're prepared. Working all together. And then in the editing, it's doing the editing, getting the feedback, picking all the social clips. It's the host should just prepare, show up, and leave. And then what we do is the magic of the preparation. So we did pre-interviews. We vet the guests before we brought them on. Some shows are different with that. That one really needed to do that. But vetting people and making good choices and then doing the proper research, really focusing on what is our show's unique message, what's our thesis, and really shaping each interview around that and coming prepared, especially when you're using a guest time. If they're talking about their career or what that show is talking about, very traumatic things, you really want to come prepared because they're donating their time. Most podcasts don't pay any of their guests. I've never paid a guest, once maybe, but I've never paid a guest. And it's the conversation, it's radio. So you really want to be prepared for them because they're donating their time, and they'll use that because if they share it, it amplifies their platform, it shares stories. These shows change lives. We've got hundreds of emails with Ramani, people saying, I divorced my husband from this show. I left my narcissistic relationship, and just all these amazing things. The impact that the show makes is just beyond me. I'm just really grateful. And then on the School of Greatness, the same token, these episodes are about money and people change their financial lives. They have conversations about their relationships. I mean, it's just really incredible. So the producer's job, I went on a tangent there, is just to be prepared to really have those meaningful conversations and really guiding the ship. You're the person who's giving the editor's notes, listening for the social clips, making things marketable, looking at the captions. All these things are so very important for growth. And it's the producer who puts it all together. And it's fun. You get to create. You basically just get to listen to conversations, write questions all day, do edits, and press publish, and it goes to the world. So.
Quick question, just to expand on that. How much time do you leave to prepare for a interview? Do you leave a week or more or less? And also, do you dig through past interviews that they were on other shows and kind of write questions to go deeper on maybe somewhere that they kind of they had an opportunity to go deeper there, but didn't? So what's the time frame that you use to prepare, and what are some of the methods you use?
Sure. Well, one thing, when you think about a podcast, it's not a marathon. It's not an 8-piece series. A lot of these things can be that. You have an hour. So you have to come to the episode with, what do I want to talk about for this? We did an episode on Cosby with navigating narcissism. Very hard topic. For that, I had the luxury of having like a week, which is nothing, to watch an entire TV series, read articles, read books and everything. So what I would do is, okay, I'm focusing on this specific story. I'm going to find all the things in that story I can and write an outline around that. I've done things. I have watched full TV series and read books before very fast, but you really don't need to do that. Once you have, it's an hour for the most part. So once you have what you want to ask, you have your 10 questions. So you browse through things, browse through their TikToks. That's what we do on some shows. If you have a popular guest, they have TikToks that are popping off. That's probably the things that people are going to resonate with. So you want to get some marketable questions. So when we were working with Eckhart Tolle to do his interview with the School of Greatness, we were like, okay, what are people searching for on YouTube with him? What are the prevalent questions? We could talk to Eckhart for 48 hours, but we had an hour and a half, and you only have 2 hours of their time. So finding those specific things. So sometimes it could take, I've guest prepped in 2 hours. Here's a trick I'm going to tell you. You can literally go to ChatGPT and say, give me podcast questions with Eckhart Tolle about manifestation. And it'll give you those podcast questions. And then you can make them yours. And then you can say SEO optimized for YouTube, blah, blah, blah. You have your topics, it's searchable. And then I've literally guest prepped like that before for shows. It takes 5 minutes. And then I look at their TikTok, look at their bio. It really depends. Some shows require a lot of research and work, but Navigating Narcissism definitely did, because we're dealing with really heavy stuff. And Yeah, that one needed it. Like for the Nexium documentary with Sarah Edmondson, I watched the 2 seasons of Nexium and read her entire book. That required it. So what I would do, I would say, okay, I'm going to have this interview be 2 months down the line, and I'm going to start reading now. And then I'll have the time to start preparing and just like write notes and really block the time in my calendar. I would basically say, okay, this is when my pre-interview is. I'm going to watch a TV show here, do this, take notes. And what was really great about that, I remember in Sarah's interview, the Nexium documentary, I don't know if you know it, on HBO, Sarah Edmondson was was a whistleblower. She had this book called Scarred, and I read the book, even though I saw the TV series, but it was from her perspective. And at the end of it, she wrote like a poem. And because I read the book, I found the poem. She read it on the show, and then she had like a Freudian slip with a word. It was like the most magical thing. And doing that type of research takes it. But all what I did for that, I don't have time to read a book. I'm producing a show, audiobook, 2 times speed. Did it on a hike for an episode once. You do what it takes. So, yeah.
It seems like people are loving this ChatGPT combination.
Changes everything.
I would love to hear too, because we were talking about it a little bit before. You mentioned how you're using it even for SEO and then also for clips with AI. I'd love to just kind of have you talk a little bit about that too.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of tools I've started to try. So what I do, there's amazing. I literally put all the assets together in an hour for a show. It was amazing using these tools. So I went to swell.ai. You can use it now. You get a bunch of free hours, but it's worth $20 a month for it. And what you could do, I think you upload the entire episode. It listens to the episode, automatically writes SEO optimized show notes, keywords, pulls out key moments, writes a blog post. So then what you can do is literally go on your distribution platform, copy your SEO optimized keywords, put the keywords in the field. You need your social clips because you don't have the time to sit, and pulling social clips is a job. You literally have to sit there and watch it. And what are the moments? Give me out of those moments. It pulls it for you. And then what you can do, you can go to Canva and have a template and then just copy and paste that quote there. And now that's your marketable moment that's already created for you. It even creates social media copy. Your copy is now written for you with it listening for it. I sound like a spokesman for Swell AI. And then you put it in Canva, like together, and then you can use Headliner. Now I'm going into the weeds. There's this app called Headliner where you can take start with Swell, go to Canva, use one of their 5,000 templates, pull somebody's headshot from your guest. You make your template. I use the same one each episode. I don't got to change it. And then I go to Headliner app. I think it's free for a few. You just have to watch an ad to download it, or you pay for it if you want to download it faster. And what you do is you put the Canva in there. You upload the clip. So now you know the clip that you want. You can use Descript. So what Descript is great about, you upload the episode to Descript, and then you can search what Swell AI put together. So Swell AI, you literally copy and paste the sentence that you want, pulls it down there. It pulls, because Descript uses transcription, you literally export that clip, upload it to Headliner, and then Headliner automatically does captions. You do the captions, you do the waveform. Now you have a social asset. You can get all this done in an hour. I know because I've done it. Because I was like, it was a Saturday. I needed to get to a pool party. I need to finish this episode. So I was like, I need to crunch this out. So I did it, and then it was marketable. And then I had the moments, and they're going. And then even a step further for growth, you can use this tool called June Group, Jun Group. iHeart uses it, and you can start by paying $50 an episode by using your RSS feed, and it literally serves ads. And you can get anywhere starting with like $50 for 500 listens, or like $100 for thousands of listens. And I had a test case. I'm using it with a few clients, and I've seen their organic audience grow. One in particular, a very small show, they were getting like 20 downloads because that's normal for when you start. After doing 2 promotions, $100 each, got a couple thousand views. She's now getting hundreds of views organically an episode using the tools of SEO optimization and everything for it in June Group. So you can use all these tools together to then start launching it on your own. So yeah.
And actually that leads another community member. She wasn't able to make it because of the time, but Madeline, she's the host of It's All Creative. She was wondering about ads and things like that. When did you actually start to...
So here's the thing about ads. In order to get ads, you need listens. So the first thing you're doing is that you need to get the listens. To get the listens, it's hard to do. If you have a big show like Dr. Ramani with hundreds of thousands of followers and all those things, obviously you're going to get the downloads. And iHeart, that's a studio show. Those are the people with the charts. But to do it yourself, it's hard. Sorry, that was a lot to absorb. drinking green tea.
It's great. You can watch it back.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah. But yeah, so you have to use these tools. So here's some ways to launch the show. First, you have to get listens. I use this strategy on a couple shows. On 3 shows that I launched, I used the test case with this first one. We recorded for months, literally from October to June. If you have evergreen content, there is no rush. Bank your episodes when you're doing it, because once you bank them, you do all the production, you figure out all the quirks, you build your show. You can go back and do pickups in the time when you need it. Give yourself some breathing room to launch a show. Launching a show and releasing at the same time, unless it's like a news one or a relevant topic, you don't need to do that. So what we did, we recorded for October to June, recorded 30 episodes, launched with 20 the first week. What we did is we did 10 episodes the first day, and then we did 1 a day until we got to 20, maybe a little bit over a week. And what we did is on launch day, we were like June 15th launch day. This company, they had a bunch of people within their company. You can do it to people in your company, all your friends and family, people who love you. Say, hey, on June 15th, download my podcast. Since we launched 10 episodes, every download was times 10. We had everybody blitzing it. We had so many social media posts on it. We provided them with the social media posts to do, provided them with a copy. Within the first day, we had 2,000 listens. And how Apple works with the algorithm, basically, if you get hundreds or thousands of downloads within a short amount of time, that's when you get on the charts. Well, what were the stats? Basically, you only need 500 listens within a week to be in the top 2% of top 5% of podcasts. 500 listens in a week to be in the top.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2% of podcasts. And what we did, we got on the business charts within the first 2 days, I think. And then we got subscribers. Since we did that launch, their numbers were consistent and just a great growth with getting all those people to subscribe. Because what you do, you want to get in the top of people's feed. Think about the Netflix model. I know it's a lot of work to do, and this is not normal to do. You don't have to do 10, 20 episodes. I've done 3 episodes on launch day with a show before, and then we did 1 a week after that. You just want to get people in the habit of listening to your show, because you're competing against a feed of people. People listen to about 6 to 8 podcasts in their feed, just total. You want to be one of those. So you just want to keep on hitting the top. So that's what we did for that. And then think about it. If you do that and then you use June Group to amplify it,
wow,
you will have thousands and thousands of downloads. And what you're paying for, you're not paying for ads. You can spend $200 in June Group, get all your friends and family. You can probably get like 5,000 downloads within a week. That will get you on the charts. And then you can go to advertisers and say, hey, I have this show. We're launched with this. You can tell them total downloads. You can see I use Transistor. I love Transistor for all of my shows. You can see like where people are listening within, I don't think you can see age or anything. And then you go to your advertiser and say, hey, I'm getting certain numbers, but you actually don't need the numbers in the beginning. You can say, so let's say I'm working on a show about camping. I'm going out, I'm telling these amazing stories, I'm interviewing all these people. You have now these tools to launch it with some numbers, but you can go to REI or something who probably has money to give for, I don't know, nonprofits or small shows or something. It doesn't have to be REI. It can be like your local camp store or something. And you can say, hey, I think my audience would resonate with your products. Can I get a couple free products? And then I'll do free advertisement for it. And then all of a sudden you have a sponsor. And then all of a sudden you have validity because people are listening to it. And then you're probably going to have a higher conversion on buying, because even if you're getting 100 downloads, those 100 people, that's 100 people. Have you ever seen 100 people in a room? Those 100 people are the people who are likely to buy. So now, instead of a company spending $30,000 on ads for maybe a 10% conversion, they're going to spend less on an ad, like spend $500 an ad, which for you, you're like, amazing, $500 a month or whatever, getting free stuff, giving away sleeping bags, and people are happy. They're buying these amazing sleeping bags, and you don't have to have much for it. And it's fun. And you can use that to grow. But literally the having people post about it and using June Group as amplification, it works sometimes, it works another time, but I literally saw a show went from 20 downloads to hundreds, and she's just doing it organically. And she's talking about horoscopes now.
Matt, I'd love to ask a question about, so you hit on the tapping into your network.
Yeah.
As you build an audience, what are ways in which that you actually utilize the audience to help promote? Have you found any strategies around having
that is the hardest part? That's the hardest part because it's opt-in. You don't have the data on them. You don't have an email list. What you would have to do to get that is you would have to put in like a survey to get your audience's email and stuff like that for them to amplify it. But I mean, when you're publishing a podcast, you don't know who you're publishing it to. So to gain an audience, you can do it. I mean, people do live shows. That's when you're just like, hey, write a review, not just write a review on, well, here's what you can do. You can say, I'll give $25 gift card, $50 gift card for one winner if you go and write in a review. And then you would start, and then they would give your email address. You ask them their demographics. You ask them what they like about the show and that. You pick one winner, and then you can make the survey whatever you want. Then you can say, hey, would you benefit from extra email about things? That's how you would get them. I've won a gift card from a place for doing a survey.
We have a question.
Yeah, not sure how that will work for coaching and hypnosis while telling people stories. Who would you reach out to? I'm not sure I understand.
I think that's in terms of getting listens on your podcast.
I bet there's communities in Facebook for hypnosis.
Oh, right.
And so if you start to, whatever that is, work for, I don't know the coaching in hypnosis, but I bet there's specialized communities that you could connect with. And then, Matt, have you found when you bring guests onto shows that then it helps promote and you get their audience as well?
Exactly. So that's what I do as well. I've done shows where I've blind emailed people with hundreds of thousands of followers, and they've said yes. And what you do is you submit an email, you get them on the show and say it's going to be 30 minutes to an hour of your time. And then what helps you with the episode numbers is getting a guest with a platform to share. And that's why it's very important to do your research and making it a valuable interview. But yes, that's another thing you would do. You can get these tentpole guests, and they don't have to be huge. I remember on 50 Now What, our first season, we had Dr. Mary Claire, who created the Galveston diet. We got her on the show. She had a couple 100,000 followers, and she did a blast about us. Now, what we would do then is that's the show we would put our June group numbers towards, because that's the one that people recognize. You don't have to do it for everyone. You do it for a topical topic or somebody with a big network. You spend a little bit more extra time on their social media. You actually may say, hey, work with their social media team. And I actually did this with them. I was like, hey, would you like to use our template or a template that fits your feed better? We'll design it for you so it fits your feed better. And then you give them the social asset. So that's a way to really work on. That's a really good point, Adam. Thank you. To use bigger guests. Every now and then you just get one or two bigger guests and promote that one. And that'll bring in new users because you're piggybacking off of them platform, and it's costing them nothing. They look great. It's costing you nothing, but spending the time making the asset and picking a really good clip. And Swole High will help you do that. Yeah.
And having this conversation, there's so many things coming alive for me right now. I'm like crazy right now in my head. I'm so excited. But we have the Do the Thing community, right? And so it would be so easy to be able to leverage this community to be able to listen to each other's podcasts, give each other reviews, download.
Exactly. I'm launching this podcast. Can you share it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we also we're kicking off the 2-hour cocktail party challenge that's going to be for 25th. And so also using parties even to leverage your podcasting, your brand, whatever it is I do. I'd love to hear just some of that, being able to have a launch party and maybe just expand upon that a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Launch party, I think, is an excellent idea. If you think about it, you can literally make a bunch of business cards, have QR codes for people to download your podcast immediately and say, hey, thank you for coming to my party. All I ask for the free drinks is that you download it and share. And then everybody's going to do social media posts, get a photo booth, get some balloons. There's going to be a lot of buzz about it. And then everybody's downloading it. You can have a park hang where you just invite the world and we're going to do a cookout and bring your own food, bring your own drinks. And here's my podcast. You can maybe bring a guest to it. And then they have a conversation to the host. You do a little mini 20-minute conversation there. You make it an experience. So you can throw little parties like that for a launch. And when people are posting about it, they're going to be like, oh, this is cool. Who is this? This looks amazing. And they had a cookout and they did like a 20-minute talk, a preview of the show. That's so cool. And then that's where you can start to capture your audience. You can start having them give you their email addresses and everything. And then you can start emailing them every week when an episode comes out. And that helps with your amplification because when they share on their network.
And I just want to remind you guys what Mojo was saying in the beginning, where he was talking about how cool it is to be able to work with these amazing podcasts because of the impact he's having now, because he's helping facilitate it. And so this idea of asking people to listen to whatever you're doing, whether it's your company products, your podcast, your whatever you're working on in your life, this is a way that you're able to impact people. So don't feel shameful or embarrassed about it, or don't let that stop you. I did an amazing episode with one of our community members, Vicky Poole. Her podcast is Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. And I was on her podcast, and she had a really good, I would encourage you guys to listen to it, because she talked about don't be shameful of having your billboard out there, meaning put yourself out, because that's how you're going to be able to impact and touch people. One person just has to listen at the right time and the right place and that right moment that they need it. And you literally change their life.
Yeah. And people love rooting for you. People love success. When you're making something, people get inspired by that. Just doing it. People will listen.
That's a really good point too. I didn't even think about it from that perspective. You're inspiring them just by them seeing that you do it and that it's possible. And maybe you're inspiring them to do something that they want to do. Like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. You could start a podcast. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's how my business grew organically, just sharing about it.
How did you share it?
On my Instagram. I shared my Instagram and LinkedIn. And I mean, contacts I've made over the years, I worked in corporate and I had executives from WeWork, and I worked had a bank, a fintech, and then they talked to their people, and then I asked them for referrals. And literally all of my clients, I've never done any type of marketing. Actually, it's all been referrals. The only marketing I've done was when I spoke at the Black Podcast Conference about tools to launch a successful podcast, and I got 2 clients out of that. That was the only thing that I did, but it was just really word of mouth, being committed, because they'll remember you. And then you can ask for a recommendation. Though I found a niche with working with founders and basically businesses, using it as a marketing tool for them, and found that niche, and I focused on that niche. And then once I focused on that niche and we grew, now I can expand to more. And I did tons of learning. I've dived in so much. I forget what the platform was. I was coming back from a trip and I had time in the airport, and I just watched an education course. That's how I know all this stuff. I watched an education course on launching. I see Riverside, actually. Yeah, LinkedIn has been good. That's awesome. Riverside FM, that's the platform that I use, top one for recording. They have weekly or monthly webinars. Attend them. Listen to them. This is free knowledge. Even Spotify for podcasters, there's blogs all the time to learn it. It was like what we can be doing with our time. I'm all about self-care, relaxing and everything like that. But if you're on an airplane, it's like 5 hours, watch a movie. The rest of the time, watch a course. Take some notes, watch some LinkedIn videos. If you commit to saying, hey, I want to watch a few hours, you'd be surprised the amount of knowledge that you would get. And that would just fuel you to do it. And then you can work for yourself. Like I've been working last year was the first year I 100% worked for myself. And I remember I was so scared to do it. It's like I needed a job. I always had a part-time job, but last year was the first year I was fully independent, and the business pulled in 6 figures and did that within 3 years. And that was just the commitment of just focus. It's like I finally made a decision. I was working with my coach. I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do podcasting. And I found a love in it. And it was just like, I tried it and it turned into working on these amazing shows. And I pinch myself every day. I'm just so grateful. Like I was in the interview today. I'm like, I literally just finished the interview an hour ago with Lewis Howes and this guest. I'm like, this is nuts. Just stupid.
Yeah. Cool. It's so cool.
And how I got these jobs, literally applying on Indeed. Like Indeed. I had all the shows that I did were my shows, and I applied on Indeed to Red Table Talk, and I got a call, and then I just committed to it, did a good job. And then from that then opened the door for greatness. They actually found me. It was a weird story. I won't get into it. How they found me, like Lewis DM'd me on Instagram. It was weird.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'll share the story. So I was listening to the Daily Motivation, their new show, and I was a big fan. And then they had a thing that had a survey. Is like, if you fill out a survey about the show, you can win a $500 Amazon gift card. I'm like, $500? I have a wish list. Sure. I won the gift card. Their team emailed me and said, hey, we want to do a post on Lewis's account. And I was like, Lewis's account? Let me spruce up my account. I literally spruced up my account, put podcast producer, found a new link tree. I was like, just in case he looked. He looked. He messaged me, DM'd me, and said, hey, you're a podcast producer? I'm like, I was literally at work. I was like, at this area. I was like, yes. He's like, how's Red Table treating you? I'm like, you looked at my profile? I'm like, fine. And then within a week, he gave me his email address, met with his team. I was meeting with him in person. It was a whirlwind. And it took about 8 months because I had to finish the next season of Red Table. But then I supported them and just showed up, followed up, and it was literally the universe. But I was doing it. It's like when you do the thing, like your show says, people will see, people will recognize it.
I'll ask you this question and feel free to answer it or not.
Mhm.
So did you fall into imposter syndrome at all during any of this process?
Literally, I just read a daily stoic about fear yesterday, every day. There was huge imposter syndrome on navigating narcissism because I had done it before, but the editing process on editing story down from like 3-hour interviews and then digesting things, there was a lot of imposter syndrome, but I just committed to it. I literally told my friends, I was like, I'm not hanging out with you for 4 months. This is a 4-month gig. It was a 4-month gig that turned into a 12-month contract, but this is it. I had a film that I was working on. I canceled it. This is what I was doing. I remember the first book I got, I went on the weekend and read it, got the audiobook, and then I would read the audio, like go the pages with it as well. I just dived in because you don't know when you're going to get this opportunity. Again, what is 4 months of your life to really, really commit to something? People will understand. You can say, no, I'm working on my dreams. Of course, have self-care and everything. Don't work to the bone. You really need that balance. But how I overcome imposter syndrome is by action. Now it takes a lot to do. I put on Beyonce, I get some tea, get it together, and then I just start. And once you start, it's interesting. It's like you're racing once you start, and then it took you 30 minutes, and then you have peace. But all this time in your mind, you've been procrastinating and going crazy. And it's like, there were times I'm like, okay, I need to relax. Let me go to the gym. I will go to yoga, and then I'll go to a sauna. And like I would spend 2 hours doing this when I could have spent 30 minutes and had it finished.
Yeah, it's true, right? I think I have that somewhere where I'm like, sometimes you spend so much time obsessing over the thing that you could just freaking do it and it would be done already.
And it's great. And then once I got in the habit of getting things done, that's when I saw the breakthrough, and that's when I saw it grow. So of course, when we had Eckhart's interview, I was like nervous. I read all his books and everything. How do I write the guest prep for it? Just write it. Just do it. It's amazing. And honestly, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all figuring it out.
I love that you just said that because I so agree. Everyone thinks that all these people know what they're doing, but you don't until you're doing it, and then you kind of grow as you go, you know?
Right. My first show, I didn't know what I was doing at all. I knew one audio editor. That's it. And one producer. And I was like, help me out. And I learned through that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. All right, Adam, I got to hear what your thoughts are right now because you are like the connector of all things. I feel like it's it's so cool, you guys, to have a podcast because number one, you're all here because I have a podcast. And then Adam, obviously, our connection has been amazing and just friendship and just everything that we've done together. And now I get to meet you. And so it's the coolest thing in the world is to have this thing that connects everyone together with something that you're all just really passionate about. I just thought we'd take this moment and reflect how cool it is to be in the podcast industry.
So fun.
Yeah. I take great pride in, I know Matthew doesn't remember this, but I
remember a lot of it
years
now.
Ago, yeah. I was building an app for podcasting and I decided I wanted to see how I could teach it. And so
I remember
on a day course. And that was your first foray. You had been doing videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so you knew the creative film and video. So you knew the creative process and world, but this was your first introduction into podcasting. And you jumped in the course. And I take great pride because watching you as someone who is a doer, like you will put yourself out there and charge forward and just keep going and keep going and you're massively creative, crazy smart, great connector, bursting with ideas. And so to watch the trajectory that you have gone on since that day of the first workshop, and to people who are out there doing Stacy's workshops and stuff where you're just beginning in these podcasts, watching Matthew kind of have done this journey where he jumped in, learned something, and just kept going with it. Back to the procrastination thing, when we try to perfect something and make it so perfect, we never launch, we never do anything, we stay stuck. And that I think is the opposite of what you've done, Matthew, is you kept putting yourself out there, kept recording, kept making episodes. You just kept doing it. And the more you do it, the better and better it gets. And Stacy, you were the same way as well. When you and I first started, you call it, what is it? Your first question to me was, what is a podcast? I heard about this thing. What is it? And now you're doing lives and you're creating communities. You're bringing people together. And this is the wonder of it all, bringing minds together, conversations together, creating content that actually has meaning and value and impacts people's lives. I think that is at the core what is most special about this medium.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Callcast too, because it's so easy to use that you don't have to go down any kind of research rabbit hole and get lost in like what this and what that. And if you're just starting out, to me, that is the best place to start because it's just like using Facebook. It's no different in terms of the technology side of it. And that gets you in momentum. And then you're able to move. And then that's when you get to kind of go, okay, now let me think about people listening to it, but don't do that till you're at like 20 or 30 episodes. I mean, I still don't look at my listens, but now I'm thinking, hearing you talk, I'm at 200 episodes now. Maybe I'll start to play around with that a little bit.
You can go back and promote some episodes you're on June Group. Like use June Group and go back and pick the ones that you want to do and pay for those. And then that could get the message out there. So
I like that. Well, yeah. And I've had some really good people on too. And so that might be good also if I SEO them.
Question for you, Matt. Have you used kind of podcasting or with your clients in any ways where you start at the top of the funnel with podcasting and then turned it into like books or courses or anything else? Like, have you reutilized or repackaged the audio content to use in different ways?
One of my clients has, so Novus Global, they've done that themselves. So they've had the podcast and then they've turned it into different resources for their clients. And they've written a book actually called Beyond High Performance. It's the Beyond High Performance podcast, and Beyond High Performance, what great coaches know about how the best get better is their book. And that came, I'm sure, from just all the episodes that they did with us. That's not something I've spearheaded or told them how to do. I kind of leave that up to the client. I just want to be a podcast producer. It's a lot to do that. Maybe that'll be in the next couple of years, kind of creating that kind of funnel. But that's a really great idea. But yeah, I mean, there's two blogs on my website. My website is rainbowcreative.co about how you can take one podcast and turn it into all these marketable materials. When you do these, you can turn it into a coffee table book. Like let's say if you do a short stories podcast of people you just grab on the street, you take their picture, you can do the podcast and then turn it into a coffee table book with their things once you build a brand. I'm working on developing a show right now where this host is going to record conversations with people. Well, she's writing people's stories for a book. And I was like, why don't we record them? And this is a different way to do the funnel, I think. But I was like, why don't we record them? And then you record it however long you need to. We cut it down to a podcast. And then she now has the episode that she can transcribe under script, and then she can take that to write her book from it. And then it's really hard to sell books, and she's building a brand for her podcast first that's specific to that show, building a brand, using all these tools that I create to promote it. And then once your book is out, you've then created a brand for yourself. And then you can publish the book and then ask for listens with an established audience that you created.
That's incredible. So someone's asking, are you saying the June Group? Is it like
JUNE Group? And I think you just...
Okay. And is it
this is a website? I think you just do a request.
Great. And then you got another good one.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I had a book I was writing. That's what started my podcast because I wanted to get interviews. And then the company I was using, they were going through some weird thing where they're not renewing the author contracts. And so it's on pause, but I decided I wanted to still write a book. So I pulled all of the one question that I ask people at the end of each episode is, what's your number one piece of advice for doing the thing? And so I'm moving that now into a coffee table book. And it is cool, right? How your podcast can like literally be turned into all these things. And then the other thing, like I didn't even have a YouTube channel because I was moving so fast. Now I'm uploading all my episodes from a year ago into YouTube. So it's like once they're on a podcast, it doesn't matter when you do it.
Yeah. So here's the thing about YouTube. I was hesitant about YouTube at first. I was like, I already have it on the audio platforms. YouTube is the world's #1 most search engine. If people are searching for your topic, a YouTube video is going to come up. What you can do is take your audio podcasts, make a template in Canva, and then just put it up with a wavelength and people will watch it. And you can monetize it. After 1,000 subscribers, you can start to monetize it. And let's say if a video takes off, you can have one video making you thousands of dollars a month. YouTube has launched YouTube podcasts, but I don't think they're doing much with it anymore. But you can start a YouTube channel of your podcast, literally take old episodes, spend some time making them into videos. They don't even have to be that engaging. I worked with a client where we didn't have waveform. It was just 2 images on screen and the whole thing. And some of them got 100,000 views because of the subject matter. And then now you're making passive money from something that you made.
Are you adding the transcription into the description of the YouTube?
So
like, do you transcribe it and then add in the full transcription when?
So transcription is great for SEO. So what I do for transcription for audio, plug for transistor.fm, they're the best for my distribution platform. They're just my favorite. But for any of them, Transistor, Buzzsprout, and everything, you would make the transcription on Descript and then upload the text file into those platforms, and then it puts it on it. So when you go to the Transistor website, people can do the transcription. And then YouTube, it automatically generates captions and it does it. But when you do transcription for your audio episodes, that's how it comes up in SEO when people search for it. But then also do YouTube, because those are two different audiences. And what I found, there's certain demographics or types of people who watch episodes on YouTube. Put your show everywhere. The more places your show is, the more people are going to listen to it. If you're not on YouTube, now I just want to put all my shows on YouTube after talking about this. Get on YouTube, because I literally pick, when you're in Transistor, you can pick everything. I'm picking SoundCloud, I'm picking Pandora, I'm picking TuneIn. I may get 50 listens on it a month. That's 50 listens. People.
Okay, you have such a good question here. I love this question. What advice would you give someone who works full-time and has limited time?
If you have limited time to produce, I would recommend hiring a producer to do this. So like my company does this, but I've seen on Fiverr, you can say, hey, I have this amount of budget to pay somebody to produce. I need you to write my show notes. I need you to do my publishing. And then I see those posts all the time on like Fiverr and Upwork. You can like do a post to find somebody for help. I think the only thing to do if you're working full time is just hire help. I don't know what else to do. Or unless you don't want to work on the weekends after you've worked a full week. I don't advocate for that. If you want to do it, you can pay somebody $20 an hour somewhere, especially if it's remote. My company does these services. We have different packages for things. We do a la carte. So we do that. There's different companies that does it. Mine is one of them. But you can either do it with a company like mine who guides you through it. We have all that knowledge, and then we'll just do it for you and help you optimize it. Or you can help guide somebody through. But yeah, it just depends on how much work you want to put into it.
I'm curious too, because one of my, and I think you would agree, but let's just see while you're both on, is one of my strategies I like to help people with is just in the beginning, unless you have some big business that you're promoting product or you're making money in some other way, like someone's a teacher, right? And you're doing the podcast on the side, just be messy. Don't edit. Don't put captions in. Just be messy and just do it. And then I love the idea of a sponsor. I kept blocking myself from like, I don't want sponsors, no sponsors. But just like the REI thing makes me realize maybe I'm limiting myself without getting a sponsor. And so then you can start getting these sponsors, make some money. And then as the money starts coming in, you're going to then be able to start hiring Rainbow Creative to for you.
And then to record the iPhone with a voice memo, if you're in a quiet room, is amazing. I've had an interview where there was an air conditioner on, there was something going on. And we're like, also record on your iPhone. This is a professional show. We use the iPhone on a professional studio show for it. You can just have thoughts. These are my thoughts. And you're just like, just go to a quiet place, record all your thoughts. Or if you want to do it with a friend, hey, come over and let's have a meal and then we'll just talk. You have it there. Editing it, Spotify for podcasters. I'm formerly Anchor. I listened to my cousin's podcast. She had all this music and transitions and everything. I'm like, what? How are you doing this? And she's like, oh, the app. I just figured it out. People know how to edit TikToks. There's ways to do it. And then you press publish. And the only thing you really have to pay for is a publishing platform, but those start at like $20 a month. I mean, what is that? Lunch somewhere?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We had another question come in beforehand. It was, how do you find your niche? Do you have any thoughts on that? So if you're wanting to do a podcast, but you don't know exactly what it
Yeah. So what I would do first, search. So there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's 2 million podcasts, 800,000 active. Most aren't used. People give up quickly or you just stop. I'm an advocate of pausing in podcasts because it's a full-time job to really reset and recalibrate. But to find your niche, what I would do is start listening first. So search some podcasts that you like, who are around you, and then listen to them like, okay, I liked this about that one. I liked this about that one. I can find my voice with it. It's okay to take ideas from people. Your experience is going to be different from their experience. So your show will be unique, even if it's along the same topic. But what I would do to find your niche would be like, what is my unique voice? What is the unique thing that I have to say that these people aren't saying? And then don't worry about it because you never know who it's going to resonate with. So put it out there. Don't have the same title as someone. That might just be a hard thing to do. But if you're really stuck on a title, but really your unique experience is your niche, I think. But listening to other shows is what I will do with clients is we do a research phase where we find shows and then we create a unique experience from that.
I love that. Your unique experience is your niche. I would love to also, do you mind you mentioned building your business with referrals, and what would be a way, because for some people, I didn't realize this till I was going, but some people have a really hard time asking for help. And Adam, you and I talked about this on, I think, our first episode together. So what is a good way to go the referral route to be able to expand your podcast and invite people to listen, basically? What would you say?
Invite people to listen to the show or try to get new clients?
Both. Okay. Let's do both.
Invite people to listen to the show. I mean, obviously, I'm passionate about this. I'll be at, dinner or something, and they'll ask about what you do. And then I'll just be in conversation about something. And then a spark will come up where we're talking about, I don't know, cancel culture. And then I have an episode on cancel culture I produced. And then I start talking about that. Or have an episode. I mean, I've done, I don't even know how many episodes now, probably 1,000 at this point. I would just start talking about, not pitching my show, but talking about a conversation. And then, and then there's this episode that I listened to about it, or this episode, I actually worked on something about that. Have a conversation about something that you love. And they're like, how do you know so much about this? It's like, you actually make a show about it. Here's my show. And then that's a cool opt-in for it, storytelling, because I notice on days I post on Instagram where it's just podcasts, I get a lower engagement. People don't really care about listening to the shows. They care about your life. So maybe do a post instead of this is an idea I might try. Instead of doing a post about hey, here's the clip that people are at work and they're scanning by and they're not going to listen to. Get on. The posts, I think the algorithm within Instagram rewards smiling faces. And that's just psychologically what people attract to. Get on, do a selfie video or just do a post. Just do a selfie picture and then write a caption about it and then say, go listen to my show, or just make a video for 1 minute while you're on a walk and say, hey guys, I just worked on this episode. It's really amazing. The story was with this person. It impacted me. It helped me break through my trauma. I saw this and then do this. I think it'll work for you. Go ahead and check it out. Here's the link, swipe up or whatever. Oh, that's old. Just tap on the link and then people will listen to it because they love you. And when you come at it from a organic storytelling perspective, those are the shows that really, really start to pop off.
Oh my gosh, you're going to make me do the Go Live challenge again, because I didn't even think about that. It was to promote your own podcast. Go live and talk about your podcast. Oh my gosh. Adam, what's coming up for you? This is crazy. I'm so excited right now.
Yeah, I love it. Great advice. Matthew has done, I love the journey you've been on, and the shows you're working on are just incredible. And so
I want to take a moment to acknowledge you, though. You really laid the foundation for where I am today. And I mean, Adam would take me to lunch and I'm like, I just want to ideate on ideas, and he would give me those. And I would say, I will hold myself accountable. That's what you can do. If Adam gives me ideas, say, okay, Adam, I'm going to accomplish this in a month. And then you have somebody holding yourself accountable. But I remember my first podcast interview I did with you on Callcast. I learned from you. You've always connected me, had me speak at Boys and Girls Club things, invited me to this. So you're just a genuine person. I just want to honor you. I always think, every time I get a promotion or something, I think of you, and I just want to share it with you because I don't think I'd be where I am today without your guidance and your support. So
I love it, Matthew. I mean, it's been incredible. You and Stacey, watching you guys both, it's so scary to put yourself out there into the world and do things like this. But when you do, it's just the payoff. And so when I get to see people that I've been like, oh, here, you could do this and you could do this, and then you take the ball and you run with it and you go amazing places and you do incredible things. This is, to me, what it's all about from the beginning. So
yeah, I still have the voice note that I texted you right after my first interview. And I was like, I don't think I'm good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. And you did a whole thing back, a whole voice message back. And it was literally the moment that changed everything.
The cool thing also has been kind of graduating in steps and just taking the steps one step at a time. Because Stacey, when you first started, you were like, no, I don't want to do video. Podcasting is perfect because it's just audio. And it was a comfortable, good place to start. But you did it. And now you're on Facebook Lives and doing all this video live stuff. It's wild. And now to see you kind of the gear turning, as Matt said, oh, here's a way you can get a sponsor. And I see the gears turning for you, like, maybe I'll reach out to this and get a sponsor for it. It's wild to watch. But the thing that is consistent is just taking one step for yourself forward at a time.
Yeah. When I was starting, it was just one step at a time. I learned more platforms later. I didn't know, and all this stuff I've learned as far as the ads, all this, it really came from just reading blogs and articles. I didn't know it. I would take it one step at a time. I didn't start focusing on growth and monetization until I had the production part first. It's like, I know how to use Zencaster. I know how to use Riverside. Now I know how to use Restream because I used one at a time. Now I know how to use all three. And Zoom, and you need to switch to one because somebody's internet doesn't do that. You learn how to do it. But it literally, I remember I thought Zencaster was the world. This is all there is. And then Riverside came out. And then Transistor came out. And then Descript came out. And then Adobe Voice or Adobe AI. Amazing, by the way. Adobe has an AI voice thing where if you have like some really crappy audio, run it through it, strips it, makes it amazing. You save all this money. Yeah. You save, I think it's called Adobe Podcast or something, but you save all this money on, like, if you can't afford a mixer in the beginning, I'm so advocates for mixers and editors are amazing. It's art. They do a good job. I have a bunch of them on my team. But if you're just starting off and you don't have the money for that and you had bad audio, but somebody was on Zoom, that was the only time they're available, run it through Adobe AI, whatever it's called, and you have clean audio.
Yeah, it's just a matter of keeping in momentum. I'd love to ask you, this is kind of on what Anne-Marie was saying earlier. Okay, I'm going to be ego for a minute because I love this comment. I'm just going to say. Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, I was wondering on Anne-Marie's comment earlier with what would be one thing you would do. So she's a teacher, right? And then she has the podcast. And so let's say she's got her episodes and she's going, and I'm using Anne-Marie, but there's so many people that are like this, right? And works full time and then wants to kind of get going on something on the side. What would be the one thing, in addition to having someone help you, that they could just do tomorrow that you think would move the needle?
Do you know, is her show like ongoing every week or something?
She's just starting. So she's just been interviewing. Yeah.
Is it published yet?
I think it is.
Okay. If you have like 10 or 12 or whatever episodes done, I would take a break. I would pause the show, do an episode saying we're going to take a break, and then take the time and then recalibrate, sketch out what you want, and then start recording for like 3 to 6 months or something. And you batch your recordings, you learn the editing, spend more time with it, and then kind of like release it afterwards. Because that way you're not up against a pressure of time. You're not up against a pressure of time of needing to do a release every Thursday or needing to make it. What I do in phases with clients is we do a phase of production, then we do a phase of marketing, and then making the marketing materials, and then we do a phase of publishing. And oftentimes later on in the publishing, we're still recording while we're publishing, but then we have a backlog and we're not chasing.
She just added a few things I just want to add. She said once a week and has published 17
Amazing.
episodes.
That's cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Get to 20 or pause. And what I would suggest doing, breaks are great. Breaks are when the new ideas come. Take a break, listen to a new show, read a book, and then really go after those big guests. The way to find guests usually is easy. You literally can just like search them on Instagram if they have a business account. Usually with business accounts, their email address will be on there, or I'll go to their website, or I'll do their contact form. Start writing them emails and asking them to be on your show. Yeah. So how I word it would be like, hey, my name is, let's say if I want to show over. My name is Matthew. I host my own show. I found your account and I'm really excited about it. I learned you've made an impact on my life in this way. Here's my show, link to the show. We've done 17 episodes. You can listen to them here. I think you'll be a very good guest because of this. Do you mind if we have maybe a 15-minute intake call to talk about it? Or if you're ready to go, I would be happy to schedule a Zoom call with you for your time. And then come up.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I feel like we could go for 3 more hours. I'm really excited. Thank you, Adam, for connecting us. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. This was, I don't even.
If you all want to follow me, you can go to rainbowcreative.co to check out our services. It has our shows. I'm happy to answer questions. You can just hit me up on Instagram at mojoadam_ or rainbowcreative_. Feel free to DM me your questions or anything. Would be happy to respond. And after talking about this, I'm like, I need to launch an education course or a YouTube channel or something. I might just do that.
Yes.
So this is the moment. You heard it here live on Do the Thing. I just have to get the time to do it. I mean, I'm just working on a really big show. But Adam, I'll call you. I'll make a commitment around that. We'll work on that. But yeah, hit me up. I'm always sharing my shows on my Instagram, and yeah, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
You mentioned articles too. That's
so if you go to rainbowcreative.co, I think it's resources or something. There's 2 articles, one on marketing and another, I forget them. It's been a while. But we have those 2 education resources. And I did a workshop called How to Launch a Successful Podcast. Maybe I'll do the thing and record that, put it out there. So thanks for the inspiration, Stacey.
And then Adam, and most of the Do the Thing people know you, but just for anyone, because we're on YouTube and LinkedIn, do you want to share?
I will. I'll have an update soon because we're launching a specialized product for clubs and schools, which to me, putting the focus really on kids and education for learning, using podcasting as an educational tool, a learning tool is what I'm excited about. So this new launch of a product has really been completely my focus and time consuming. I'm going to try and harass both Stacy and Matthew to help, because we built into the platform curriculums and modules that the kids can learn from. And both Stacy and Matthew, you guys would be incredible teachers for these kids that I think could impact their lives just by the stuff that you guys are doing.
I was just going to say, it's amazing. I didn't even think about it. We have so many teachers and principals in the Do the Thing community and educators that could probably help you get in the school system too.
And from some of the stuff that Matt talked about, I am curious about the June group. So if anybody in your Facebook groups uses the June group, I'd love to hear, hey, here's how many listens we had. Here's how many we got after we used them. So please add into the Facebook group that information. So Stacey, if you pick up on any of that kind of marketing tips that Matthew gave that people actually applied, we'd love to hear back and kind of give the feedback in the Facebook group.
A company having a podcast, because you mentioned the company, how do they do it differently? If it's a company, do they have their employees podcasting? Or
no, so I've done it several ways. One, there was a CEO, the founder and CEO, and he was the host. And it's what he wanted to do for fun. Two CEOs I had were the hosts, and they were just really excited about it. And they were able to get people on the show. And for producing them, since they were really busy, I would make all their guest prep and everything. And what's great about that is they have budgets and they want to do marketing, and they're using it as a marketing tool, really. But I actually had this one client, Scylla. They were really interesting. So they basically have some sort of payment platform for fintechs. They're a fintech payment platform for these different types of companies, and they're all these founders. So they launched a show called Alpha Beta Launch Fintech Founder Stories. And I did a casting call where I casted this Emmy Award winning journalist and podcast host. And the budget was paying for her as the host. And then we did all the work and the stories. They would just give us the name of the founders, and then it turned into something. We did 2 seasons of that. So that's how a company was able to promote their brand, because on each episode, they were like, oh yeah, and I use Scylla, and Scylla has changed my company, this, that, in these different ways. And that was the organic marketing plug. And they funded it and they used it as a way to do it. So I've done that with a company, Novus Global. They're really great. It's led by Jason Jaggard, and all their coaches are powerful voices. And what they do, they just share their expertise, and that's just an organic way to get business. So yeah, thinking about companies, if you see a company, I think I've seen Honeybook has a podcast right now, actually, voicing software that I use. I want to listen to it. It seems pretty good. Ramp had a podcast at one point. Bigger companies are doing kind of sponsorships. Like if you see a company and you're producing a show, look at a air filter. Here's an idea. I'm just going to throw it out there. Somebody take it. So here's an air filter company. What if Lavolt Air Filters? I have it in my room. What are they doing with a podcast? Well, what if they're passionate about climate change and want to do something?
Totally.
There's all these fires. Lavolt, hey, give me $20,000. What is that to them? To produce a show, and I'm going to do this amazing thing on climate change. We're going to promote air filters, why they're so important, and everything like that. And that's how you can pitch to businesses. So I ideate about those ideas a lot, and that I would pitch it to the companies.
I know. I'm thinking real estate agents and salespeople. It's all these things are coming up.
And just to clarify how Matt does this as well, don't forget, podcasts can have seasons. So what he would do is, it's not an infinite, I'll just do infinite shows.
10 episodes.
He will say, I'll do 10 or 12 episodes. So he packages it and says, here could be your first 4, bang, bang, bang. And here would be good guests. Will you give me X amount of dollars and I will produce this?
Right. X amount of time, and then here's the launch date, because they don't want to do this forever, because it's a loss leader really for them. They don't really know what it is. So you can say, hey, it's going to cost you $10,000, break it up monthly into 3 months. We're going to produce it. And then that's the formula that I use. And then my team, we get together, we can commit full time to it because we have the budget. So we're crushing it. We're doing all of it. And then we publish it, and we're publishing it for them. They don't have to lift a finger. They're just reviewing episodes. It got to the point with the clients where they're like, go, just publish it. I know it's good. They'll start to trust you. You have clients that really want to be involved, as they should. But I've built a rapport with my clients where now they trust my expertise. It took a while to get there. It took some years to get there. But yeah, really pitch them. Think about it. If you're a freelancer and you got a $20,000 gig, how many months could you live off of that if you're doing that? So you can commit yourself.
It's definitely a way to get out of it.
Exactly.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for everyone watching. And I know everyone's minds are going, wow, right now. It's so exciting. So thank you for being here in the Do the Thing community. And so great to have you guys on. Awesome. And do the thing. Don't wait for opportunity.
Oh, I see all the comments now. Wow. Hi, everybody. I was on full screen. I didn't see it. We're live with Mojo. Oh my gosh. Hi, everyone. Okay. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.